What's up, guys? Case Ford here, welding instructor here at Tulsa Welding School, and today we're going to be going over some ceramic welding. Now, ceramic welding comes up very often in a structural, environment. So if you're out, looking for a structural job, of course, you're going to need to know how to weld ceramic. I've welded quite a few of these, in my experience out in the field, such as shipyards, which is my main background, and these have popped up every test for a structural job. So today we're going to be using some 1/4-inch ceramic, and we're going to be welding on 1/2-inch plate. All right, so we got our ceramic right here. Now these ceramic tapes, and it's called tape for a reason. I mean, you take these little peel off tabs here, and then it's nice and sticky. It uses a type of foil, and it goes on the back side of your plate. And here we have our runoff tabs, so we can start our weld and work it into the ceramic base. All right, so we're gonna get these tacked together and start rolling. All right, so essentially the ceramic is made to eliminate the need to use a backing strip. Now, it is technically a backing strip, but it's removable. So this is what we would call a non-permanent backing strip. So the little grooves here in the ceramic, it contains the weld metal. And after you're done with the root pass, you can take it right off and inspect your root pass for any discontinuities and things of that sort. All right, so now we're gonna tack on our first runoff tab and try and get it as straight as possible. Now, sometimes, whenever you go to take a weld test, they're already put together for you, but that's pretty rare. They wanna see your knowledge and your ability to weld. All right, here we go with the first tack. Now I'm just going to put a little small one, nothing too major. All right, so we got our first tack. We're going to ensure that our plate is still even, because after you get done tacking, those plates can flex on you a little bit. So just gently make sure that your tacks are still in place. Got a little beady right there. All right. Going to rotate our plate around, and we're going to tack the other side. Then after that, we should be ready to put on our tape. All right, here we go, our second tack. Now that one did flex on me a little bit, but that's quite all right. And there we go. And now we have our runoff tabs. So you want to ensure that you have runoff tabs with ceramic welding. You want to start your weld down here. This will be the 3G vertical plate that I'm going to do first. You want to always start on the runoff tab and end on your runoff tab. That way you don't drag any impurities. Like if you got porosity at the start of your weld from insufficient gas pressure or anything like that, it won't carry through your entire weld. All right, and if you notice, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it, but I've also put a very small land on there to help contain that weld puddle just a little bit better. No more than not even a 32nd, like a 64th of an inch. So the weld puddle is going to be right there in the center of the bevel. Once we put our ceramic on there, it's going to lay right there in that groove, and that's where that root pass is contained. After we're done with the root pass, we should be able to remove the ceramic, inspect to make sure that we fuse properly and that there's no porosity or discontinuities or anything of that sort. All right, so now I'm going to measure how much ceramic we need by the little squares that you see on the back side. All right. So it looks like we're gonna have to break it off right there, and that should be just enough to get us going on this ceramic. All right, so I'm breaking a piece off. We don't need that, but we can always use this in the future. So always hang on to your ceramic. I'm now gonna peel back the foil. And that exposes the adhesive that we need for it to stick to the back of our plate. This one's a little too sticky, so I'm pretty sure it's up for the job. All right, so now this next part, you want to carefully ensure that it is nice and even. Start putting a little bit on there at a time. Now you never want to put ceramic tape on a plate that is already extremely hot, because that adhesive, it won't stick. It's all right if you got it on a plate that's slightly preheated, but you never want to put it on a plate that's piping hot. It will fall right off. All right, and that's what we're left with. We're gonna start on our runoff tab, and we're gonna come up, let that puddle build up, and weld it on up in there. Now you're gonna be leading the puddle. You don't wanna get in front of the puddle, but you're gonna be staying right in there, taking your time, coming up. Maybe have a little oscillation, it's very slight. And that weld puddle is gonna stay right there, laying on that ceramic. All right, so I got my bolts set at 21. I'm running it a little colder on the root pass just to ensure that the weld doesn't fall back out on us, which is a good possibility if you're running it way too hot. And I got our wire speed around 220, 215, somewhere around there. All right, so like I said, we're gonna start on this runoff tab and slowly work our way up. May have to manipulate that wire a little bit, but let's get at it. All right. So as you can see, I'm just staying in that weld puddle, letting it build up and follow me all the way up. All right, now we've made it to our runoff tab. That's a good sign. All right. So now that we've welded our root, go and check out the outcome. Oh yeah, there we have a nice solid root. That eliminates the need to grind on the backside. All right, as you can see, it's nice and solid. We worked it in there and let that puddle follow us all the way up. And that's the end result right there. That's what you want. Get that little bit of slag off. Basically, you want your ceramic tape to actually fall off the backside. That means you got good heat. Everything was looking real nice and everything. And your ceramic block should come off fairly easy, like with just a gentle tap. That means like you got good penetration, you got good, heat, good travel speed, and everything of that sort. So that's a very good sign. All right, so now that we're done with our root pass, I'm going to take my grinder here, wire wheel it, and then inspect the pass, make sure there's no slag entrapment. Now, like I said, this is set up just like a weld test out in the field, and some places they don't allow you to use a grinder at all. I had a weld test in Virginia. I was not allowed to touch a grinder. All I had was a chip and hammer and a little pick stick to make sure I didn't have no slag entrapment. But we're not in Virginia, so we're going to use our grinder. Now, slag entrapment will more than likely be on the toes of your weld, so you always want to inspect your toes and make sure there's no slag entrapment. And this looks pretty good. So, we're going to run some stringer beads up it, and then we should be able to cap it. All right, here we go with our first fill pass. Now I'm having that wire right there on the toe of our previous weld on our root pass. I'm staying away from that beveled edge because that's our guideline. You never want to burn away your beveled edge. Coming up on our runoff tab, every pass you do, you want to end on your runoff tab. After every pass, you want to chip your slag, but every pass you want to start on your runoff tabs and end on your runoff tabs. That is very important. You never want to start right there at the start of your plate because that's where they're going to bend it. They're going to come up an inch, cut out a section, and then come down an inch on the other side and cut out a section for a root and face bend. That's very important. Always start on your runoff tabs, which they will cut off later. All right, and that slag falling off right there, that's a very good looking sign. All right, so now we're gonna do our second fill pass. We're gonna overlap our first fill pass by 50%, ensuring that we have good and adequate penetration. All right. Once again, I'm starting on that runoff tab. That's very important. And we're ending on our runoff tab. So, our fill passes are complete. We're going to give it a couple of minutes to cool off. Now normally on the weld test you would never ever quench your plate. Never. If you quench your plate, the heat, whenever that plate quickly cools down, it actually makes that plate harder. It makes it more susceptible to break, because if something is really hard, it will break rather than bend. So you never ever want to quench your plate for a weld test, and if you do, they're probably going to look at you all crazy. So you never quench your plate. All right guys, well, we've allowed our plate to cool off. We got it, you know, I ensured that we're nice and flush before we started to cap it. Like I said, I kept my beveled edges. We're about just a 16th under flush. That way we're not too high whenever we go to cap this weld. That way it's visually appeasing. We're gonna let that puddle just roll onto that beveled edge. That way we stay nice and straight. So as I was saying before, it's important that you inspect every pass. Make sure you have no slag entrapment. All right, so now we're gonna weld our second cap and keep on rolling with it. We got 2 more left. Now we're gonna weld the middle one. We're gonna overlap it 50%. That way we get good penetration, good overlap. That way we're not having any lack of fusion. Want to keep a steady travel speed. Take your time. Ensure that that puddle stays the same width going all the way up. If you slow down, that puddle gets a little wider. If you speed up, it gets a little skinnier. Want to keep a constant travel speed, nice and smooth. Alrighty, now it's down to 1 more pass, and this will be complete. that concludes our last cap. I'm going to chip the slag off here, give it a once over with the wire wheel, inspect it, make sure that it's job worthy, which you know it is. All right, everybody, and that concludes our 3G vertical ceramic backing flux core weld. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.
Thank you for watching our video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something today. If you would like to get some more tips and tricks and become a better welder, then subscribe to our channel. And if you would like to learn even more right now, then click on our link. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.